On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite Dr. Stephan Moccio to address Convocation.
Dr. Moccio, or Moccio, I can get used to that. Thank you, because it will come in handy with my children. Thank you, Dean Betty Ann Yonker, Chancellor Cowan, Vice Chancellor John Capone, members of the faculty, the Senate, the Board of Governors, Professor Emeriti, Faculty of Music, graduates, families, and friends of the class of 2019, congratulations. And to my beloved Western University, I'm probably going to need an extra 2 minutes up here. It's very emotional for me to be here today, as I remember, and I try to select a few fond memories of my years here at Western. Could have been my earliest memory of driving in off the 401 with a sign that said, "Thank you, fathers, for dropping off your virgin daughters." Was it tobogganing at Delaware Hall against our rival Saugeen Maitland Hall at 2 a.m. on cafeteria trays? Or perhaps one of the most iconic pieces of music that still haunts me to this day. Ooh, ah, Delhi is the res. Ooh, ah, Delhi is the res. You move to the left, you move to the right, peel your banana and oomph, take a bite. I'm scared today, as I was the first day I walked on campus. Scared to be up here. I know one thing that I knew for sure when I walked in here in 1991 with my family. I knew that I wanted the world to hear my melodies, to hear my music, and I was determined to make that happen at whatever cost as I walked into this glorious, incredible institution we call Western. For 25 years exactly, post my graduation in October 1994. I knew one thing for sure, that as I talk about fear, that anything that is worth anything is on the other side of fear. And I just want you to remember that as graduates. I'm here for a few minutes just to kind of share my apologies. My story with you. What did I say, sir? Okay, my apologies for that. I knew one thing. I knew one thing that I wanted to get to Los Angeles once I left the school. My parents gave me the opportunity to sell my baby grand piano for $1,000. I had $1,000 in pocket. I graduated in 1994, 2 days after my birthday. And I left to meet famed record producer David Foster, Canadian record producer. One thing I know for sure, and I can remind all of you now, 25 years later, post my graduation, is to trust your gut. Your gut is your best barometer in life. It's what I used when I wrote the Olympic Suite. I literally wrote all over my studio, trust your gut, do what you do best. Be true to who you are. Remain open, and again, this may seem lofty, this may seem up there, but what does remain open mean to me? It means that when sometimes you don't want to show up for something, showing up is still the best thing to do. I wouldn't have written Earned It. I wouldn't have written Wrecking Ball had I not showed up to the event, had I not remained open, because I did not want to get in a writing room those days to write those songs. And those songs ended up changing the course of my entire life. Failure is something I really believe in. Perhaps I failed today on the speech. I don't know what I said to this gentleman right now, but I will learn. Failure is something I make often in music, is something I make often in personal choices in my life, with my family and my friends. But if you could fail once and you can correct it, then hopefully you can move on and learn from your mistakes. Getting used to being uncomfortable all the time is something that I have to remind myself. No growth happens unless you get uncomfortable. When I was a student here, I would play 12 to 15 hours of piano practicing in the afternoon, throughout from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. I would go play a bar called Bon Appetit, which is now called the Church Key restaurant on Richmond Street. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday nights, I would get paid $20 an hour, and whatever I got in tips, and the tips were grim. I would then play the Sheraton Armories on Saturday nights, and I would go and play recorded music in the studios at DB Studios until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember a gentleman taking me aside when I played Bon Appetit, and he just said, I have a feeling that you're the kind of individual who does not take shortcuts in life. If anything I can tell you now on the other side of what I've accomplished thus far in my very short life, that there are no shortcuts in anything. There's no shortcuts in playing your instrument and practicing your instrument. There's no shortcuts in your relationships and how you handle people. Teachers, those of you who will go on to become teachers, you are artists, remember that. You're perhaps more artistic than artists themselves as you shape and mold the future of our children. Some of the most influential people in my life have been teachers. Performers, I'm just here to remind you that there are, again, no shortcuts. Practice, practice, practice. Nothing comes from nothing. I'd spend a minimum, like I said, of 12 to 15 hours a day in room 227 at the Faculty of Music on a Kimball piano with rounded keys. I still don't know why I was bestowed the rounded key piano, but I took it. I swallowed it, took it with pride. I learned that showing up to that practice room was no different than an Olympic athlete waking at 5 a.m. to train every day. Show up even when you're not feeling in the mood, because half the battle in life is simply about showing up. All you artists in the room, we've signed up for a life of service. Find your truth, move yourself, bleed, and somehow formulate your deepest pains into art. You will help heal people, and you will help heal the world. I want to share one story, one iconic story that maybe many of you have heard, but is a story that has transformed my life, and it took place in this very room 27 years ago in Alumni Hall. Famed singer Céline Dion, the best singer in the whole wide world, was performing at Western for the first time. I remember right around that part of the room, there was a console for sound, and I came in early for sound check, and I happened to meet her then manager, not yet husband, Mr. René Angelil. And I said to René, I said, René, I would love to meet Céline one time. You know, he says, okay, meet me here. After the show, and I'll take you back to meet Céline. I was like, okay, fantastic. I remember I was like fourth, fifth row here, incredible show from Céline. I did exactly what he asked me to do. I met him at the console, and René took me backstage. And he took me backstage to meet Céline. He says, Céline, this is Stephan Moccio. He's a songwriter. And Céline's like, allô, Stéphane, comment ça va? Mwah, mwah. I said to Céline in French, I said, Céline, je vais t'écrire un hit. I'm going to write you a hit song one day. She's like, okay, bye-bye. She was gracious enough, I asked her to have a photo taken with her, and she signed my CD. She said, Stéphane, à Stéphane, bonne chance, Céline Dion, XO. Good luck, Stéphane, XO. And René gave me his business card. Let's fast forward. Almost 10 years to the day that I met Céline here in Alumni Hall, downstairs, in the basement. I'm in Los Angeles, And I have the opportunity at the Grammy Awards to have dinner with Céline, because I had just written a song. Well, what happened is, right prior to that year, my partner and I, Aldo Nova from Montreal, wrote this song. We sent it to Renee and Céline, and Renee called us back and said, "It's gonna be bigger than the Titanic." And Céline was like, "I love the song, it's unbelievable." So that dinner in Los Angeles, I had the picture of Céline and I here at Alumni Hall. I had the signed CD and his business card. And Renee's like, "Oh my God, it's you. It's really you." Céline's like, "Oh mon Dieu, je peux pas croire, c'est incroyable." She's all emotional. She's like, she said to me honestly in French, "I don't remember you," but she looks at the CD and she goes, "My God, don't we look better?" The reason why I share that story with you, and I have a handful of those stories, is that I called it 10 years prior that I would write her a hit song. That song ended up dominating the charts for 25 weeks at #1. It was called "A New Day Has Come," and it became the title of her Vegas show that she just terminated last week. The story gets better, which I've never told anybody. I'm just allowed to talk about it now. I'm now producing a third of Céline's upcoming album, her first English album in over 6 years or 7 years. And the title of the album is a song I co-wrote and produced, which is called "Courage," which is something that I urge all of you to have as well. Courage. I am almost complete. I am grateful for this incredible playground. These people who've taught me. The School of Music which injected Barber, Debussy, Ravel, Bach, Chopin, Messiaen, Miles Davis into my fingers, which now became the language of my piano voicings. I was allowed to practice those 15 hours a day for years on end here. I was able to hide and perfect my craft. This is the most selfish time and most exciting time for you as graduates. You probably don't get that right now. And your parents are probably saying it's the most exciting time of your lives. I promise you it is. Just live it, have fun, and work and work and work at what you love. Because if you don't love what you do, somebody else is going to make you responsible for you working for them. So just do something that you're excited about, that makes your blood boil, and that makes your hands tremble. If you're lucky, you maybe have 20,000 days to live a life to 75, 80 years old, and to be aware and cognizant of everything, your family, your friends, your career, and the impact that you're going to have in this world. Don't lose a moment. Believe in yourself, and thank you very much for this incredible honor. Western.
Thank you, Stephan, for your inspiring address. As a Grammy, Academy, Gemini, and Juno Award-nominated composer, producer, conductor, arranger, pianist, and recording artist, you are an inspiration to our students and many Canadian artists. Today, we celebrate your impact on the international music world. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating Western's newest honorary Doctor of Music, Dr. Stephan Moccio.
I take pleasure in asking the Convocation Brass Director, Professor James Mackay, to make a special announcement.
Chancellor Cowan, Vice President Capone, ladies and gentlemen, wasn't that a speech from Stephan? That was wonderful. I took over the Convocation Brass in 1999, and I have heard every single convocation speech since then. That was one of the best. Congratulations.
I thank you, and I'm going to break the mold here for a second because I was derailed from what happened. May I take 1 minute to mention one more thing to our grads? Thank you so much, Chancellor. I really appreciate it. Because I'm looking at my book, and I don't find it fair to all of you, perhaps, that I've left out the most important part of my speech, which was as factual as we are musicians. We live in a day that we no longer value recorded music. A Starbucks Grande Cinnamon Dolce Latte costs $4.29, approximately. And we are not willing to pay $1.29 on iTunes anymore for a song. For something that our parents have spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars on our education, that we bled for, that we've lived for, and that we put pen to paper and written a song. I'm just giving you this fact to simply enlighten you and remind you that change is the only thing you can count on in this world. When I was your age, I was buying CDs still for $16.99 at Sam's here in London, on Dundas Street. Now, the upside of this is that live music is alive and well. Because we as human beings need to feel, touch, breathe each other. We need to be in a room with other humans, to feel the imperfections of live music, to feel that thumping bass line, which is so real. The last thing I wanted to say is tenacity and risk. It's a risk not to take a risk in today's market. If you don't do anything, you don't get anywhere. Thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you so much for allowing me to come back up here and say that to you. Because I was side-railed, and I don't get side-railed often. I love you, Western.